no place like the Cube. Family, this is your favorite queer radio personality, Anna DeShawn, and this is Queer News, your favorite weekly news pod where race and sexuality meet politics, culture, and entertainment. This is your number one stop for queer news done right, only on E3 Radio. Family, I am literally interrupting our regularly scheduled programming with breaking news. Breaking news from the Supreme Court that they have decided to decline, to reject the opportunity to overturn its ruling guaranteeing same-sex marriage for all of us nationwide. This here Supreme Court has declined to hear this case from the former Kentucky County Clerk, Kim Davis. Woo! This is a landmark decision I did not see coming. Just this past week on CNN, James Obergefell said this: "I am very concerned. At this point, I do not trust the Supreme Court." And he was not alone. I did not think this was going to be the breaking news today. I had quite literally sent the files to Ryan. I was on to my next set of tasks, and I had to message Ryan and say, we got to insert this because this is breaking news this here Monday morning. What amazing news, family. I'll keep following this story. Of course, we'll have an update next week. Catch me on social media, Instagram and TikTok to tell this story. But this right here, ooh, this right here, this is major, family. We're going to take this win. Don't you let nobody steal your joy today. Now let's get back to the episode that we have put together. Come on now.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We are breathing in the air of a city that has been reborn. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. Socialists. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants. And as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
That right there, that speech right there, okay, by the new mayor-elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, gave me hope, y'all. How could we not open the pod with that type of energy today? We're going to play a little bit more of his words later in the show and also celebrate all of the wins on November the 4th. That gave me even more hope, okay? Yo, this is a celebratory episode. Somewhat. Child, it's Queer News. I can only do so much. Oof. QCrew, what's going on? Thank you so much for your continued commitment to helping sustain this podcast. QCrew, you helped to cover the cost of our editor, Ryan, who I quite literally wouldn't want to do this podcast without. So if you believe in the work we do, if you believe LGBTQ stories need to be amplified, and if you love and respect how I report on the news and tell our stories, join the QCrew. It starts as low as $5 a month. We all we got out here, okay? A link is in the show notes. And family, don't forget, if you've got a local news story, if you're a queer org that needs some amplification, are you an artist, got a song coming out, send me a queer news tip. I love our queer news tips, okay? And I love putting them on the podcast. So submit them, okay? Info, show notes, okay? Period. Now for the news. Our top story breaks down the victories across the board after November 4th's election day. Continuing in politics, I revisit the topic of George Santos. He just won't go away. Chile in light of his recent commutation granted by Trump, and we discuss the Supreme Court's upcoming decision on a case that could affect gay marriage for all of us. In culture and entertainment, we take a look abroad at the first elected openly gay prime minister of the Netherlands. GLAAD's Darian joins us and talks about featuring Snoop Dogg during the first stop of their HBCU tour titled Generation Z and HIV. And our other contributor who we haven't heard from in so long, Benjamin Coy, is back with our entertainment roundup talking about the Real Housewives of Potomac and more, child. Let's get into it.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
Yo, turn the volume up. Turn the volume up, okay? Zohran Mamdani will be New York's 111th mayor. Mamdani's win is huge for a myriad of reasons, as he is New York's first Muslim and South Asian mayor, and he's one of the youngest at 34 years old. Mamdani's campaign promised a progressive housing plan that included rent freezes for 4 years on rent-stabilized apartments, free public buses, lowering the cost of groceries with a city-owned grocery store network, a minimum wage increase, and an increase on taxes for big corporations. He connected with marginalized voters, such as young voters and queer voters, and passionately campaigned till the very end of the election by going door to door and meeting voters where they were. New Yorkers ran into Mamdani in their everyday life, at the club, in the bodega, and on their way to school, on their way to work. It was a tight race where Mamdani won 50.4% of the vote in comparison to his rival and Trump-endorsed candidate Andrew Cuomo with 41.6% of the vote. And this was a historic election day for voting turnout as well, with record-breaking turnouts in New York, okay? According to ABC News, more than 2 million voters turned out on November the 4th in New York City. The first time a mayoral election crossed that threshold since 1969. 1969. Do we remember what was happening around 1969 that would have brought out more than 2 million voters? Family, Mamdani's transition team is all women-led. All women-led. He's a smart man, okay? It's consisting of social equity nonprofit leader Grace Bonilla, city budget manager and social services expert Melanie Hartskoff, former FTC chair and anti-monopoly advocate Lena Khan, housing and urban policy expert Maria Torres Springer, and seasoned political strategist Elena Leopold. Yo, he wasted no time. And I love that for New York. I love that as an example of how we can lead as progressive candidates. New York is just the tip of the iceberg too, family, when it comes to victories, okay? Ryan, can we get some cheers or some hand claps to highlight all of the wins, family, that get handed down on November the 4th? Because people went outside to vote because folks are angry at what's happening right now in this country. So let's give the rundown. In Downingtown, Pennsylvania, Erica Dusso was elected as the state's first trans mayor, beating her opponent, Rich Bryant, with 64% of the vote. In Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger won with 57% of the vote against her Republican opponent, okay? Abigail made history as the first woman to be elected governor of Virginia, and she won 90% of the black vote, changing the state's majority ties from Republican to Democratic. Major, okay? In New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill was declared the victor with 56% of the vote over her Republican opponent. This win makes her the first Democratic woman elected governor of New Jersey. And in Cincinnati, Ohio, Aftad Pureval beat J.D. Vance's half-brother, failed Republican Corey Bowman in a landslide victory with 78% of the vote. Aftad won 78% of the vote. In Ohio, and in Virginia, Democrat Ghazali Hashami won the lieutenant governor's race, becoming the first Muslim woman elected to statewide office in any state. And I'm still not done. We also have to celebrate 3 black women who became the first black women mayors of their elected posts. Sharon Owens in Syracuse, Dorsey Aplears in Albany, New York, and Mary Sheffield won the mayoral race in Detroit, Michigan. Come on, y'all. When I say the wins on November 4th gave me hope, they gave me hope. And I hope this rundown is filling you up this Monday, okay? I don't care what day you're listening to this podcast. I hope that you are feeling some of that tension from the slingshot that Nadine Smith talks about in Equality Florida loosening a little bit. Also, props to California, where Prop 50 was passed. Per the California Democrats' website, right, Prop 50 is, quote, a direct response to a Republican power grab orchestrated by President Trump and state leaders in Texas, who redrew congressional district lines to gain 5 more seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. Proposition 50 proposes new lines for many of California's 52 congressional districts, which would negate the 5 Republican seats drawn by Texas. Under the proposed lines, Democrats could gain up to 5 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. It's also important to note that the new maps drawn as a result of Prop 50 will expire in 2030. I support that type of carrying on, okay? If they gonna do it, we gonna do it too. We have to fight fire with fire, okay? We must. And family, in exit polls, Americans expressed their discontent for the current state of this country and the economy. May this change the tide, okay, and be a beacon of hope and proof that things can change for good. We will not allow this to continue. Family, I am filled with hope this morning. As I record this episode, I am filled with hope, and I hope you are too. Oh, George Santos, family, is back in the news, and here I am talking about him again, and I am not the only one who is not happy about it. And I feel like this won't be the last time either. Earlier in the year, I reported on the initial announcement of Santos going to jail to fulfill his 87-month sentence for the charges of wire fraud, identity theft, and campaign finance theft. I mean, he's just a thief. On top of the charges, he was ordered to pay nearly $374,000 and forfeit $205,000 in restitution. At the time, I believed that even though he was a Trump loyalist, I made a video about it and everything, Trump wouldn't pardon him. Trump wants to remove LGBTQ folks from life. So I just knew he wouldn't. Well, that prediction did not age well. Trump commuted the former representative on Friday, writing on his social media, George Santos was somewhat of a rogue, But there are many rogues throughout our country that aren't forced to serve 7 years in prison. After an unrelated tangent about Democratic senators, Trump continued to write, "This is far worse than what George Santos did. And at least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican." This is always what it comes down to. Trump finished with this, "George has been in solitary confinement for long stretches of time and by all accounts has been horribly mistreated. Therefore, I just signed a commutation, releasing George Santos from prison immediately." In all caps, okay? Good luck, George. Have a great life. I'm in a world where our president writes official announcements on a social media network that he built and paid for. My God, today. But I digress. Santos served less than 3 months in jail of his original 7-year sentence. In a statement to The Hill, Santos said, "I have been granted a second chance. I have made a very conscious decision to apply that for good and use that to make amends with my community, with my friends, with my family, and those who I left a sour taste in their mouth." Now, family, I want you all to know this is a commutation, not a pardon. So the conviction will remain on Santos's record, but because of the commutation, he does not have to repay the court-ordered $373,000 to those he harmed. Everybody and their mama, okay? I mean, if Democrats and Republicans can come together about nothing else, it is George Santos. They all took to social media to express their disdain for Santos's actions and for Trump commuting his sentence. Well, everybody except for Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was a loud voice in Trump's ear to get Santos commuted. Now, only time will tell if Santos is truly done with scheming and thieving or not, but I am almost certain this will not be the last time I report about George Santos on this podcast. Seems like a great time to take a break, okay? We're gonna take a quick break, and when we get back, we get into culture and entertainment, and we welcome back 2 of my favorite contributors, Darian and Aaron from GLAAD and Benjie Coy. Stay close. You've got the drive, you've got the ideas. Now it's time to cash in. We have a promotion that Focal Point has never done before. Dulcie has gone crazy with this one. The heat has gotten to her, and you want to sign up now before she comes to her senses. Now imagine, family, if you could get paid for your goal achievement. No fluff, no filler, just real strategy, real wins, and your money back. If you're done with distractions and ready to start seeing the payoff your hustle deserves, sign up and make the next 90 days count. Get focused, get paid. Welcome to Focal Point. Enroll now at focalpoint4u.com. That's Focal Point, the number 4, the letter U.com. If you're listening to this, it means we didn't sell this ad space. If you're listening to this, it means running ads on our podcast can actually work. You see what I did there? Do you need some promo? A little amplification? Hit us up at info@e3radio.fm. That's info@e3radio.fm. We have a platform. You should use it. Family, welcome back to the show. Let's jump into some culture and entertainment. This one is a global story, and I want to do more global stories, especially after coming off of World Pride this year. I know folks are listening from all over the world, and I want to be more intentional about telling some of those global stories here on the podcast. Because why not? 38-year-old Rob Jetton of the D66 party narrowly, and I do mean narrowly, approximately 29,668 votes narrowly beat his opponent in the Dutch election. Upon the announcement of his victory, he had this to say: "I think we've shown to the rest of Europe and the world that it is possible to beat the populist movements if you campaign with a positive message for your country." Jetton's campaign was in favor of lowering energy prices, and many favor his views on immigration. Jedden is an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community and actively posts supportive messages on his various social media platforms. Fun fact, if you're a fan of 2008 era Obama, Jedden's slogan actually translates to "It is possible," which is a nod to Obama's slogan, "Yes, we can." Now his next challenge is to build a coalition that can help him claim enough seats to overtake the House of Parliament. He currently has 26 of the 150. He doesn't need them all, he just needs the majority. But the process of building a coalition takes months, so we won't know right away if/when Jedden will win. Also, a type of coalition that is eager to work on issues such as housing, migration, climate, and the economy. Jedden still has a way to go, but if he wins the majority, he will become the Netherlands' first gay prime minister. He's currently engaged too, y'all. He's engaged to two-time Olympian Argentinian field hockey player Nico Keenan. For our next story in culture and entertainment, I am excited to welcome GLAAD's Darian back to the show. Now, GLAAD has partnered with HBCUs to bring HIV plus education to colleges and universities across the country in an effort to provide Gen Z with sex education. According to GLAAD, Gen Z is the most out generation, but only 37% of Gen Z ages 18 to 26 say they feel knowledgeable about HIV. According to GLAAD, research published in 2024 State of HIV Stigma Study. The first stop of the tour was at Jackson State in Jackson, Mississippi, and Snoop Dogg was the special guest. Now, if y'all remember, Snoop had some questionable, statements after taking his grandson to see the 2022 Pixar film Lightyear. He left there, went on the internet and said that he was scared to go to the movies because he didn't know what to say. Well, he was the special guest. And GLAAD's director of local news, U.S. South, Darian, is here to tell us more on the story.
Hey, Anna, thank you so much for giving me the space and the opportunity to talk about Generation Z and HIV, Human Issues Southern Solution, and HBCU Tour, which we kicked off on October 28th on the campus of Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. This event was monumental, dare I even say groundbreaking, and I know that is a word that's thrown around quite a bit, but it was really an opportunity for us as an organization, for GLAAD to really connect with Gen Z. Gen Z is the most out generation in history, but is the least knowledgeable about how HIV is transmitted. Only 37% of Gen Z ages 18 to 26 say they feel knowledgeable about HIV. And that is data from a research study that we did in 2024 that was released in 2024 called the State of HIV Stigma Study. And so this HBCU tour is really an opportunity to connect with this generation and to share knowledge and information about HIV in a fun, informing, and engaging interactive way. And so one of the ways that we are doing that is by having this HBCU tour on several different college campuses across the South where HIV remains an epidemic. And on this kickoff tour, we actually had a fireside chat with the iconic rapper Snoop Dogg. I was able to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation with him in front of the students and faculty at Jackson State University. And I know this fireside chat has garnered mixed reaction on both sides. And when I say both sides, I'm referring to the Black and the queer communities and the Black queer community. It was really important for me to be able to have a conversation with Snoop on an HBCU campus in front of a predominantly Black audience. But more than that, it was important for me to connect with him before that moment at Jackson State, which I did. I was able to connect with Snoop as well as members from his team to really share with him how his words impacted the most vulnerable among us, how his words impacted Black queer parents specifically. And I was able to hold him accountable. One of the things that I continue to see happen in our culture is that cis hetero people consistently over-sexualize queer folks. Having a conversation with your child about LGBTQ representation in media is not having a conversation about sex. sex. It's simply having a conversation about two consenting adults who love each other and sometimes chooses to form families. And how does that happen? For some couples, it happens the old-fashioned way. For other couples, it happens through adoption. And that was one of the things that I shared with Snoop. And luckily, he heard me. But also during that conversation, Snoop repeatedly reiterated that he had queer folks in his circle. He had queer folks who were friends and colleagues. And so it was important that folks knew his heart. And that was one of the things that he wanted to convey to the public and to give some pushback. And towards the end of that conversation, I extended the invitation for him to join me at Jackson State at the kickoff of this HBCU tour to clear the air and let folks know his heart. Let people know a side of him that they may not be privy to. And so Snoop accepted that invitation and he flew to Jackson, Mississippi on his own dime. I know that there's a narrative out there that our organization paid him. Untrue. Snoop came to Jackson because he wanted to be there, because he wanted to lend his voice to LGBTQ advocacy and HIV advocacy, and he wanted people to know his heart. People ask me if I think that Snoop has changed. What I will tell you is that in my time over the last couple of months with him, I have observed his willingness to learn and to grow. And as a queer advocate, that's all I can ask for, is that you learn from your mistakes. And when you know better, you do better. And I would much rather see Snoop be an ally to our community than to be a detractor. And I honestly believe that we have to give folks room to grow. Does that mean that you should not be skeptical of Snoop's motives? No, that doesn't mean that at all. And I totally expect our community to be skeptical. Listen, I am a proud graduate of the Alabama State University, but many people have asked me why Jackson State as the first university to kick off this HBCU tour. And the answer is simple. I found a willing ally in William Kelly. He is a public relations specialist on campus and the faculty advisor to the student queer group Spectrum at JSU. And so William and I worked together for a few months to bring this program to fruition, and I couldn't have found a better partner. And I also want to say here that the HBCU tour is sponsored in partnership by Gilead Sciences, and we couldn't have done this tour without their financial support. And I am really grateful to Gilead, namely Samantha Granberry and Rashad Burgess, who I've had the honor of working with since earlier this year with GLAAD Down South, which is a media event that I put on annually, amplifying the work that we're doing at GLAAD in the South. So I'm just eternally grateful for the partnerships that have come about for GLAAD Down South and for this HBCU tour. And so the work continues. Jackson State was the first stop. The next stop will be my alma mater, Alabama State University, on February 5th. And the tour will close out on March 18th at Morehouse College.
Thank you, Darian, for the work you're doing at GLAAD. One thing that stood out to me was when Darian talked about giving folks room to grow. Be skeptical, yes, of course. Side-eye the situation, sure. And this is what restorative justice can look like when we actually do the work of engaging. It's not everybody's work, okay? But it needs to be somebody's work. And I'm glad Darian is doing it at GLAAD. And now for our entertainment roundup, Benjie Coy is back with the latest. Benjie, over to you, my friend.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Benjamin Coy, your favorite fashion and culture contributor, checking in with what's moving the culture and shaping the timeline this week. Okay, let's start with the Real Housewives of Potomac. As you know, they came back earlier in October, and in the same week, Wendy Osefo and her husband Eddie were charged with an alleged insurance fraud case tied to a 2024 burglary that they said happened in their home. The couple claimed luxury items were stolen while they were abroad, but investigators pointed to inconsistencies, including a couple returned items before the break-in and one piece later seen worn by Wendy. This is all the judge's decision, and it really decide on if it's going to go to trial or honestly just what happens next. Now, shifting gears a bit to something near and dear to the culture and near and dear to my heart, homecoming season for our HBCUs is wrapping up, and it was so lovely to see the world celebrate our sacred campuses. If you know, then you know. This isn't just a football game or an alumni weekend. Homecomings for historically Black colleges and universities is a pilgrimage, a celebration, remembrance, and a reunion, all tied into one. But honestly, let's talk about the tailgate fashion, because homecoming style is absolutely not accidental, it's intentional. It's layered, it's coded history. I mean, we're talking varsity jackets with legacy embroidered, line jackets with decades of pride. It was so beautiful to see everyone bring their unique personalities to their homecoming looks this season. And shout out to my HBCU Bethune-Cookman University. It was so good to be home and see everybody, and I absolutely enjoyed myself. This is Benjamin Coy with more culture, more context, and more conversations coming up soon. Make sure y'all connect with me on social media at Benjie Coy, BenjieCoy, and let's keep the conversation going. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Benjie, for the roundup, okay? I don't know nothing about the Real Housewives. I don't know nothing about it. And I'm so glad you do, because I know a lot of people get down with the situation, okay? So, family, you're going to be hearing more from Benjie, giving us the entertainment roundup, because why not? Family, you know what time it is. It's time for Anna's Got a Word. And my word today is we are stronger together. If you've heard nothing throughout the course of this episode, I think the thread that binds all these stories together is that when we come together, when we show up, okay, in numbers, we are undefeated. We are absolutely stronger together. So family, I challenge you to think about how in your work that you do every day, you can bring like-minded individuals with you on the journey. We go further together. Yes? Yes, we do. Family, it's a good week, okay? It's a good week. Don't let nobody steal your joy out here. I'll talk to y'all next week, okay? Peace. If you've enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna DeShawn. Podcast editing by Ryan Woodhall. And brought to you by E3 Radio and distributed on The Cube. We are Queer News Done Right.